All right, Panthers. Today we're talking about exponents. Now I want you to put these exponents into your notebook. So get your notebook, the one that I entitled Math Semester 1, the one with your table of contents. So for your table of contents, put down the date, the title, and the page number. For me, the date is 9/1/2020. The title is Exponents. I'm on page 3. So go ahead and pause the video if you need to catch up, but get all that information put into your table of contents. Okay, then once you go to the page number you're on, for me it would be page 3, put the title at the top, Exponents. Here's an example of something with exponents. So let's go over some vocabulary. What part of this is the exponent? If you said the 4, you are right. The 4 is called the exponent. But if that's the exponent, then what do you call the regular looking number, the 3? That's called the base. Okay, so you need to know the vocabulary. What is an exponent? What is a base? Now the whole thing together is called a power. So the whole thing is the power, and the power has 2 parts. It's got the base and the exponent. All right, so then also, how do you say this? When you look at this problem, how do you read it? Here's what you read. You say the base, which is 3. You say 3, then you say to the, and then this tells you what power it is. So it's 3 to the 4th power. And that's how you verbalize that. Okay, so I'm going to be erasing so I could write more on here, but make sure that you've got everything that gets on my board gets into your notes. If you need to pause it all to catch up, feel free to do that. So there we've got 3 to the 4th power. Next, let's write 3 to the 4th power again. Well, let's talk about what it means. Okay, so when you have 3 to the 4th power, you've got the base and you've got the exponent. The exponent tells you how many bases you have. So how many 3's do we have? We have 4 of them. 3, 3, 3, 3. So the exponent tells you how many of the bases you have to use in a multiplication problem. So we're going to do 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. It's repeated multiplication. Now 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is not 12. It's not 3 to the. It's not 3 times 4. It's not 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. It's going to be way bigger than 12. So there's a couple ways you can solve this. One way is you can go straight across, like this. What is 3 times 3? Well, that's 9. 3 times 3 is 9. But then you got to times it by another 3. All right, well, that's 27. But then you got to times it by another 3, and you got to see what that is. Turns out it's 81. Okay, another way that you can solve the same problem is this. Instead of going straight across, you can break it down into parts. Like I know that this 3 times 3 is 9. I know this 3 times 3 is 9. It says to multiply those. So 9 times 9 is 81, and that's the answer. 3 to the 4th power is 81. Okay, so exponents are repeated multiplication. It tells you how many times that you're going to use this number as a factor, which means a number that you're multiplying. Let's try a couple more examples. All right, now I should point this out too. In this one, what is the base? The base is 6. What is the exponent? It's 3. How do you verbalize this? You could say 6 to the 3rd power. Or, if it's the 3rd power, in this case you could say 6 cubed. And the word cubed means to the 3rd power. All right, so see if you can solve 6 cubed. What does it equal? Pause the video if you need to. I'm going to go ahead and do it right now. But see if you could pause the video and get what is the value of 6 cubed. All right, so 6 cubed means that we have 3 6's. It's 6 times 6 times 6. 6 times 6 is 36. Times 1 more 6 is 216. If you got 216, you got it right. There you go. Another example. Let's say we have 12 to the 2nd power. Now, just like when you have the 3rd power, there's a shortcut. You could say cubed. When you have the 2nd power, there's a shortcut here. You could say 12 squared. So squared means to the 2nd power. Cubed means to the 3rd power. So this is going to be 12 squared. So see if you get the answer for 12 squared. Pause the video if you need to. 12 squared means we have two 12s, we're going to multiply them, and 12 times 12 is 144. If you had 144, you got it right. All right, one more example here, and then I'll show you something different. All right, let's say we have 2 to the 5th power. Okay, so we talked about how if you have the second power, the shortcut way of saying that is squared. If you have the third power, you could say cubed. But for all the other exponents, there is not really a shortcut way to say this. So there's no word that means to the 5th power. You just have to say 2 to the 5th power. All right, pause the video if you need to, but see if you get the answer for 2 to the 5th power. Okay, what I would do for 2 to the 5th power is I would kind of count on my fingers. So we've got 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. We've got 5 2's. So 2 times 2, that's 4. Take that and times that by 2, that's 8. Take 8 and times that by 2, that's 16. Take 16 and times that by 2, that equals 32. And if you got 32, you got it right. All right, now I want to show you something else about exponents that you might not have known before. Okay, this will work for any base. So I'm going to think of an easy base to multiply. I don't want it to be too difficult to do, but I'm thinking of a base that might be easy to multiply, and we'll try this a couple times. Let's say, let's use the last one just used. We use 2 as the base. Okay, so let's say we had 2 to the 5th power like we just did, and then below that we'll do 2 to the 4th power, 2 to the 3rd power, 2 to the 2nd power, 2 to the 1st power, and then 2 to the 0 power. All right, what do you think 2 to the 0 power is going to equal? A lot of people get 2 to the 0 power incorrect, but I'm going to show you a pattern to show you how we could actually get it right. Okay, we've just done 2 to the 5th power, and we found out that the answer was 32. Let's build up to that. What is 2 to the 2nd power? What's 2 squared? 2 squared is 4. Okay, what's 2 to the 3rd power? Or 2 cubed? 2 cubed is 2 times 2 times 2. That equals 8. What's 2 to the 4th power? 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 16. All right, so now to try to figure out what is 2 to the 1st power and then 2 to the 0 power, which I asked you about earlier, look at the pattern that's happening here. How do you get from this number to the number right below it? We're going to use that pattern to figure out what goes right there and right there. So again, how do you get from any one of these answers to the answer right below it? Turns out you divide by 2. So 32 divided by 2 is 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is this. It's 2. So 2 to the 1st power is just plain old 2. That kind of makes sense. Okay, now let's keep following this pattern. Divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. So take this, divide it by 2, and that will equal this. Well, 2 divided by 2 equals 1. So 2 to the 0 power equals 1. In fact, any number to the 0 power is going to equal 1. Any base to the 0 power equals 1. Even like a million to the 0 power equals 1. Okay, let me show you this again with a different base other than 2. And again, everything on here should be written in your notes. So if you didn't write that in your notes, go back, pause the video, put that in your notes. Now let's do another one. Let's say we had 5. 5 to the 3rd power, 5 to the 2nd power, 5 to the 1st power, 5 to the 0 power. So again, a lot of people will miss this one. They'll get the wrong answer there. A lot of people know 5 to the 1st power is just 5. 5 squared means 5 times another 5. That's 25. 5 to the 3rd power, that's 5 times 5, which is 25, times another 5. And if you multiply that out, that equals 125. Okay, so just like we did with the last example with the 2's, let's take a look at the 5's. How do you get from this number to the number right below it? And how do you get from that number to the number below that? And that's how you're going to get to this number here. In this case, you divide by 5 to go down this pattern. 125 divided by 5 is 25. 25 divided by 5 is 5. And 5 divided by 5 is this answer. And 5 divided by 5 is 1. So again, anytime you get an exponent of 0, a lot of people think the answer is 0. It's not. It equals 1. 5 to the 0 power equals 1. 12 to the 0 power equals 1. Uh, Even like a fraction, like 3/4 to the 0 power equals 1. Any number to the 0 power is going to equal 1. Okay, so that's a little bit about exponents. And remember, let's review the vocabulary. When you're looking at something like this, what do you call this whole thing? The whole thing is called a power. Now the power has two parts. What do you call the regular looking number, like the 5? That is the base. So every power has a base, and it's got a little number up there, and that's called the exponent. So there's an exponent, there's a base, and the whole thing makes a power. Okay, make sure that's all in your notes, and you can use those notes to take the quiz. Best of luck. All right, bye Panthers.